I'm Laurie Anderson, and I am the owner and designer of Southern Stitches Boutique and Brer Rabbit Designs. Many of you might be familiar with some of my video tutorials on smocking and pleating and picture smocking, and I'm pretty excited about teaching a video blog series on how to smock a bishop from start to finish. I am going to be using the Children's Corner bishop pattern, and if you have this pattern, yours might look like either one of these. This is the older one, and here's the newer one, and I have both of them because I've had the older one and I've used up the pattern pieces so much that they were getting a little bit worn, so I updated with a new one. Now, if you don't have either one of these patterns and you have a different bishop pattern, that's fine, because it doesn't matter. The tips and tricks that I'm going to share with you will pertain to any bishop pattern that you might be using. I am going to be pleating up 2 bishops for you. I'm going to pleat up one using white batiste, and I think that the white batiste is going to, the smocking is going to show up a lot better for you on this video tutorial than if I use a printed fabric. So that's why I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do one in white. And I know that there's a lot of people that have had a little bit of fear in pleating up a microcheck. And so I'm going to show you, I'm going to use this brown microcheck. And I'm going to show you that really there shouldn't be any fear in pleating up a microcheck. And it's pretty easy to accomplish. And so with that said, let's get started in cutting out with our pattern pieces. Okay, here is my first little tip. When I have a tissue pattern like this, I usually do cut them out. I don't trace them. And but what I do is, and I'm using the 6, 12, 18 month, and what I do is I cut out the tissue on the smallest size, and then so that all the pieces, I cut it out so that I'm following the outside edges, let's put it that way. All the outside edges is what I cut out on the pattern. And then I'm going to cut out a size 12 month bishop dress for this tutorial. And so as you can see on this piece here, I've got the arm, underarm seam cut out at the 6 month size. But when I pin my pattern down to my fabric, I have taken the scissors and I have clipped, I've just tiny clipped in. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold these little tabs back so that I'm folded down to that size, that 12 month size. Okay? So I'm going to do that all the way around. And even on my hem, I'm going to fold my pattern up on the hemline that is for the size 12 month size, and lay all my pattern pieces out that way. That way I haven't cut into my pattern. I've kept my pattern intact, but I've just folded back onto fold lines and saved my pattern that way. So that's one little tip that I do. You might rather trace your pattern out, or you might like to just go ahead and cut it out, but I try to save my patterns in the best shape as possible after I learned on my first pattern from cutting it out and then taping things together. So I'm going to lay my pattern pieces out here, and I'm going to show you then what that looks like. Okay, before we lay out our pattern pieces, I wanted to talk about getting your fabric on the straight grain, which is very important when you pleat your fabric. You always want your fabric to be on the straight grain. So what I've done is I have taken a little clip at the selvage end and I've torn my fabric all the way across, and I've gotten my white fabric here on the straight grain. I have done the same thing with my brown gingham. I've torn it so that it's all on perfectly on the straight grain of the fabric. Since both the fabrics I'm using today are a poly cotton blend, I'm not going to wash it before I lay out my pattern pieces. If I was using cotton, I would wash it first and I would press it and so that all the shrinkage is taken up, because you don't want to do all this work on making a bishop dress, wash it, and then have it not fit. So it's important to wash those cottons first, and the cotton poly blends, it's up to you. I don't do it usually, but if you want to, you can. So with that said, I'm now going to go ahead and I'm going to lay out my pattern pieces.